So first, we'll get into my background and how and why I got into actually juicing. So basically, what happened to me was in my 20s, I got hospitalized with spinal meningitis. So I remember one night just playing broomball with the guys because I was in a fraternity, and at that point I was a chapter advisor for my fraternity because I had just graduated Sonoma State University with a business degree in marketing. And I remember going home and having like a headache and flu-like symptoms, and I just didn't feel too good. I took some Theraflu, figured I'd, get over it. The next day, I actually had a really bad splitting headache. It like hurt more than any other headache I ever had in my life. Or basically, my parents had to drive up an hour to come get me and take me to Kaiser Hospital. And right when I got to Kaiser Hospital, I was throwing up, and I remember being put in a wheelchair, and the last thing I remember was just throwing up, and I just literally passed out. And so then I was basically put in an intensive care unit, and I ended up waking up like the next day and waking up and like, whoa, where am I? Because I didn't have a clue. I was out of it. I didn't know what was going on. And I asked, the doctor came in, I said, okay, doctor, what's going on? He said, well, John, you have spinal meningitis. And I said, okay, well, when am I going to get out of here? Because my whole thing was, when we go to the doctor, you're supposed to go to the doctor, they're supposed to, make you better, and you're supposed to leave, right? I mean, isn't that how it's supposed to happen? But he told me, he says, well, John, you might not make it out of here. And I said, wait a second, you're telling me I might lose my life? He was like, yes. And I was like, this can't be happening. I mean, you got to be able to do something for me to help me out. I mean, he's like, well, you have a viral infection, and we're going to do the best treatment we can, but it's really not up to me. And at that point, a kid in his 20s, just graduated college, never made the $1 million like he wanted to, never fallen in love at that point either. I was like, oh my God, this is the end of my life. This is the possible end of my life, and this is really horrible. And I really didn't get down on myself, but I had a lot of time to think because they took a spinal tap. I don't know. They basically, got some spinal fluid to find out, and that's how they found out I had the meningitis. But that really hurt, so I had a pain in my back and just didn't feel well and was in the hospital. I had a lot of time to think, so I thought a lot about things. And one of the things I thought about was, man, even if I had that $1 million, what good would it do me right now? I mean, could I write a check to Mr. Doctor, $1 million, do not cash unless I walk out of here? I mean, no, they couldn't. I mean, the best medical care couldn't ensure that I was going to walk out of the hospital alive. So, I think I'm here today because of higher powers, and I'm grateful, and because of that, I strive to live my life more in service because I had some value shifts. So one of my value shifts was, focusing and changing my value of money onto what's really important, to maybe focusing my value on health because I almost lost it, and luckily for me, it was at a young age. Most people, maybe this value shift doesn't happen until, maybe they're much older. But, I mean, health should be our greatest wealth, and I mean, that's a common saying, and people say it a lot, but people really don't take it to heart. And, for me going through this situation at such an early age, I really take it to heart. So the reason why I got the spinal meningitis, the doctor said, was because of what's called complement immune deficiency. So what that means in layman's terms is the doctors blame my spinal meningitis on defective genes, or pretty much is what they're saying. I had a weakened immune system. I mean, this has kind of been inherent since I was a child, and since I was born. I was born with allergies, asthma, and excema, and ichthyosis, some dry skin conditions. So I had some immune challenges even at an early and young age. I was, allergic to milk, eggs, chocolate, pollen, grass, cats, dogs. I mean, it's terrible. I couldn't have a pet as a child. So the doctors blamed my situation on my genes, and they said you have a depressed immune system, and you could get a reoccurrence of the meningitis or any other bacteria or virus, and maybe not be so lucky next time. And so it wouldn't be like I got a reoccurrence of the meningitis because I was over this bout, but I could get it again because the doctor said that people carry around the meningitis bug with them. A lot of people are carriers, but people don't get affected with it because their immune system's strong enough to fight it off. I'm sure we've all known, somebody in your household, maybe your wife or your kids has a cold, and they got a cold or the flu, but you don't get sick, right? That's because your immune system's strong enough to fight it off, but theirs was depressed for maybe because of poor dietary habits or stress or whatever it is. So I knew, I needed to do something to build my immune system because the doctors basically said they blamed it on my genes, which basically you can't change your genes, right? You're just stuck with them. Well, I thought I ate really well before I got sick at the time. I didn't eat red meat. I didn't drink alcohol. I ate pretty good, read my ingredient labels, and try not to eat a lot of things with additives, but I still got sick at that point. So I knew I needed to go further. At that point, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I didn't want to get the shot. The doctors wanted to give me immunization to, protect me against meningitis in the future, but that immunization only protects you about, a couple kinds of meningitis, not all of them, so I didn't want to even do that stuff. And I lost some, belief in the whole medical system that, that it's the answer. So time went on, and I knew in the back of my mind that I needed to build my immune system, but I didn't know how to do it at that point. So let's go back to 1995, and I was living out actually in Birmingham, Alabama at the time, and I didn't really have a job. I was watching a lot of TV, but that was a good thing because I saw an infomercial on TV. Jay Cordish, the Juice Man. How many people of us know of or seen the Juice Man infomercial many years ago? Great. So I saw the Juice Man infomercial, and the one thing that I heard in his infomercial that was all I needed to hear was juicing builds your immune system. And so, because I knew I needed to build my immune system, I just didn't know how to do it. I was a kid out of college and didn't have any background in health or anything. So I got on the phone, ordered the juicer, it was $199, so back in 1995, that was a lot of money. But I still ordered the juicer because I knew I needed to do it, and they told me it'd be there in 2 weeks. It's like, man, I need the juicer now, not 2 weeks. Well, you could get rush shipping for extra money, and I don't think I did that, but so I went to my local Walmart, and as luck would have it, when I was at my local Walmart, they had a juicer on clearance sale. I was like, oh my God, they have a juicer on clearance sale. It's only, $23.97 or whatever it is, right? So I bought it. I was like, this is my lucky day. Maybe I don't need that Juice Man juicer I bought. I brought it home and started juicing with it, and then I noticed I'd get very little yield on something like parsley, and even on parsley, what happened is the motor would literally stop, and it would start to smoke, and I'd smell this burning smell out of the motor. When I was juicing, I was like, oh, maybe that's why it was on clearance. It was defective, right? So I took it back, returned it, and as luck would have it, they had one more left. So I brought that home and juiced with it. The same thing happened. So that's my Walmart juicing experience. I was like, okay, maybe there's a reason why the Juice Man juicers, $200, and the Walmart juicers are on clearance for $25. And we're going to come back later and talk about the Walmart juicer when we start talking about the Liquid juicers that have a 10-year warranty that will not bog down on things like parsley. So once I got the juicer, I started juicing for breakfast. So I stopped eating whatever I was eating for breakfast, whether it was, I think I was eating toast and cereal. I just make juice for breakfast. So, because when we're waking up from a sleep, we're literally breaking our fast because we've been fasting for hopefully 8 hours if we've been sleeping 8 hours, and sleep is definitely another important component to health. So we want to break our fast. So if you eat a heavy breakfast, we're breaking our fast of sleep with heavy foods that maybe, will not sit well or, won't leave us as light and as full of energy as maybe something like fresh juices. So I basically, at that time, I would juice 5 pounds of carrots a day for breakfast. And I drink, about 4 or 5 cups of juice that it would make. And then I'd eat my normal lunch, and then the mid-afternoon I'd have a little bit more juice, for snack, and then I'd have my normal dinner. So this is a good way to just start to bring juicing into your life without, going crazy on some health kick binge, because I found doing this for as many years as I have, that, people that really get gung-ho, they're the first to just drop and walk away when they're not getting the results. But, so one of the mottos I like to use is, by the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. So make slow and incremental changes into your diet. Definitely juicing is definitely a good way to incorporate some more fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet. So I started juicing, and guess what? I started feeling better. I started losing some weight. My last corporate job before I was doing this was I worked at Chuck E. Cheese Pizza, and I was a manager there. I was a technical manager, so I was in charge of all the games, rides, and animatronics. And as a manager, one of my privileges was free food, all you could eat. So you can imagine, I put on a little belly and stuff, and through juicing, basically I lost 30 pounds. And so juicing was a start of further dietary improvement. So juicing was the stepping stone for me to get in to learn more about health, because I felt better. And I was like, wow, what else can I do that could maybe better my health, because I don't want to have that same immune system challenge that I had before. So I learned more about cleansing. So I went on this cleanse program, and then I learned about more eating, fresh fruits and vegetables, a diet high in fresh fruits and vegetables. It's called the Living in Raw Foods diet. So that's what I do now, and I teach people about that. But juicing's still a solid foundation of my diet. So in 1997, I started a website to teach people about this, living in raw foods, and the website was living-foods.com, because I felt, for me, service is a big part of my life. I mean, I'm grateful to be alive, so I wanted to give back to people.